That's what people are trying every day to make changes through willpower. But when you look at self-sabotage, you have your conscious mind in conflict with your unconscious mind. So you have 5% against 95%. Guess which one is going to win?
Welcome to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast, a show where we interview high voltage entrepreneurs growing and scaling through e-commerce, real estate, and other wealth without Wall Street ventures, showing you the path to making your first or next million. Hey folks, welcome back to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. It's Neil Twall, your host today. I'm feeling pretty spry, so this might be a fun conversation. I've got a very interesting gentleman here. So if you are specifically in the area of agency and owning and solopreneurs with coaches and consultants, this is the one you're going to want to pay attention to. If you're specifically looking for ways to increase the performance of your business, you might not recognize you have self-sabotaging behaviors and patterns of behavior, as we do sometimes as an entrepreneur. And if you're looking for a way to get your business into a situation where you're not burning out in the process, this is the call we're going to have today. And I'm going to welcome my guest here, who I knew was the right guy to speak about these kinds of topics. And I'm always looking to bridge different gaps. If you're following my podcast, different gaps in different conversations with different people that I know I consider to be high voltage business builders, and I hope you do as well. So without further ado, let's bring Mario in on the call. I welcome him in from South Africa today, and let's get going, man. What do you think?
Beautiful. Neil, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. I'm really excited about our conversation, and my intention is to make sure that whoever chooses to listen today is going to walk away with a lot of actionable value that will not only make their business better, but make all of their life altogether better.
I love it, man. So let's dig in. Where is the topic going to go with us today? Where do you want to take it? Do you have the 92 things people need to do to change their life? Or is there like the negative 3 things you're doing wrong today? Or, do you have some sort of insights you can dig into for us in this way?
Absolutely. What I would love to talk about is really how can entrepreneurs increase their performance in a holistic way? And there are some principles that I want to highlight, that I want to talk about, that are, again, very simple, but profound in their application. And I find that in the times that we're in, where a lot of entrepreneurs, as you mentioned earlier, are burning out, are really on the edge of what they can do, and are required to even show up more powerfully, because with the recent economic shifts that we are experiencing, now more than ever, entrepreneurs are required to show up in their best every single day. So I want to provide the tools, the insights, and the stories that will help them do that.
So you did a TEDx talk on this in regards to self-doubt, as I know we were talking about in our green room call earlier. How did you get on TEDx first? How did you make that booking happen? Were you invited, or did you just keep pounding on their door until they finally let you in, or what?
Great question. And I accredit this to the power of leverage. Right? They say that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and I would agree, because your behavior is naturally influenced by the kind of people that are around you. Human beings have something that we call mirror neurons, and so I really took this to heart. And I remember one day I was invited to join a network called the Bellwether Alliance, and at first I thought it's a scam, because it looked too good to be true. And I said, I'll just join an informational call, see what they talk about. And they talked about, creating generational wealth, showing up from a place of doing better than what is expected of you. One of the principles that I stand on myself anyways. And so I joined the network, and part of my nature, and I was asked this question, people asked me, how did you get your TEDx talk to 1 million without any paid ads or an agency, purely through organic growth? And at first I said, I don't know. I didn't really have a strategy. It should have sort of just happened. And so then
into it, right?
One of my associates started digging deeper, and he started asking me, so what did you precisely do? And what came out was that the reason so many people shared my talk is because I have made such a big impact on people. And so my first principle is always serve before you sell. So with anybody that I meet, I make sure that the person leaves the conversation feeling elevated and feeling better equipped to face whatever they're facing in their life. And so this is how I got my TEDx talk, and I got into this network, and I was serving and showing up for people and giving them breakthroughs just because I believe it's the right thing to do. And then the gentleman on the other side asked me, what can I do for you? And I just said, hey, do you know any bigger platforms where I can share my message? Maybe a podcast, something like that. And he said, how about a TEDx talk? And immediately my mind was like, oh, this is a scam. He's going to say it's $20,000 for you. So I'm already arguing with myself. It's
And
probably
we'll write
worth
you
it.
2
Just
articles.
do it.
And we'll get you on
Exactly,
Medium,
right?
and we'll write
And
you
you get
2
on
articles
Forbes.
and blah, blah, blah.
But, I said, I would love that. It's a life dream. And he said, okay, well, you're in. And I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, you don't even know me that well yet. And he's like, well, I've heard what I needed to hear. You've given me some powerful insights. I want you to be on that. And that was it. I was it. That was my ticket to join TEDx.
That's very cool, man.
It was through a personal network, and it changed my life.
Well, I'd encourage people to check that out because it's a powerful story and the self-doubt concept is something that, again, we talk about sabotaging yourself as an entrepreneur, and there's so many ways that we do that. And I was even reminded about this yesterday. I teach an intro to entrepreneurship course every Wednesday to a homeschool group from our local co-op, and we're in session, I think, 5, and it was about financial management. So it was the beginning aspect of being a financial management person in your business and generating revenue and things of simple concepts like separate your business, revenues from your personal revenues. And I'm like trying to get this into the head of 14-year-olds because I'm dealing with it with 50-year-olds who haven't done it in their business at all yet, right? So like there's not a whole lot of difference in the way we still sabotage ourselves, even though we don't do things we know we should do. That in the business world, some of these are very basic once you get into business. Separate business finances from personal finances, yet so many people make these common mistakes. But it led into the common questions about what makes the difference between somebody who is financially successful and somebody who's not. And their thought processes at this point are, hard work. Like if I put a lot of time and effort into this, I can make it work, which to some degree can happen. But as you and I are both aware, there's a level you start getting into business and dialing things in, and the phrase is success is boring, where you actually realize you can make more money in half the time. And it's a very interesting concept that I explained to them yesterday. And, they're new and they're getting this, and we're trying to stay sort of basic to the concept. But I went after a couple of advanced strategies with them and reminding them that, there is a phrase of working smarter, not harder. And from that affect becomes the opportunity to find something that someone needs that's so irresistible they feel stupid saying no to it, so that it doesn't become a sale, it becomes an invite, it becomes an opportunity. And they want to chase you down to get that opportunity. What do you have to say about all that from your experience?
It is so, so true. Neil, this concept of self-sabotage, we have to first understand what does self-sabotage even mean? And so if you look at the mind, and the mind is really the key feature to understand and to learn more and study more about if you're an entrepreneur, because the mind influences your behavior. It determines your behavior. So if you want to change your behavior, which really comes down to you want to change your results, you are required to consistently behave in a different way, which means you've got to understand what drives your behavior. And that brings you to the mind. And in the mind, there are 2 parts to simplify it. There's the conscious mind, and then there's the unconscious mind. And I'm sure you've seen this, Neil. There's this graph where you have this iceberg, right? You have this huge chunk underneath the water, and you just see the tiny top at the top of the water. That's your conscious mind. That's what people are trying every day to make changes through willpower. But when you look at self-sabotage, you have your conscious mind in conflict with your unconscious mind. So you have 5% against 95%. Guess which one is going to win?
Every day,
95%.
Twice on Sunday. That's
and
right.
So when it comes to hard work, this is a perfect subject. I recently worked through this with one of my clients who was stuck in not being able to create more revenue with his business. He wasn't generating more clients. And so he would pride himself on just working hard, grinding, going all the way, and I would listen to him. And so what I saw immediately was an opportunity within 10 minutes for him to generate an additional $30,000 to $40,000. And I told him, and I said, how much do you sell your program for? And he said, yeah, he's about $20,000 per package. And I'm like, great, okay. Would you like to make 2 new clients? He said, yeah, absolutely, but I don't know how to do it. And I said, have you considered, first of all, looking at who's your highest performing and best client? He's like, 1. And then have you considered asking this client for 2 more people just like him? And he looks at me and he's like, dude, that's so simple. Duh, it's so obvious. It's like, well, have you done it? He's like, no. I said, why not? And he was reflecting. He's like, oh, that would be too easy. And I was like, isn't that interesting? See, here is the conscious mind that is programmed. I have to work hard for it. That then denies you to see the opportunity to make easy money. Because if you did, it would conflict with the belief that it's hard. So that's just one example. But you see, self-sabotage, in order to really get this, first and foremost, you need to become aware. See, without awareness, a change in behavior is impossible because you're just simply following a program. And I'm going to correct myself slightly here because I would say without loving awareness. There's a difference, loving awareness and judgmental awareness. Judgmental awareness is, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm so stupid. I'm doing that. Just, gosh, Mario, just get your shit together. Just, I mean, come on. You keep doing that. That's judgmental awareness, which means you're using self-judgment to essentially keep yourself small, to punish yourself for what you perceive as a mistake, which means you just repeat the same stuff again and again and again. And the loving awareness is looking and says, oh, okay, that's interesting. This is how I'm doing it. It's a little bit like you would talk to a child. Say, see, honey, you know, this, when you do this, it leads to this. Okay, do you want to change? Yes, okay. Okay, fine, let's change that. It's more love, more compassion. And when you do that, your mind doesn't feel threatened and you can actually change your behavior and with that get much better results.
Yeah. Well, and because we're in a society where a majority of people do work or work for some effort and the minority are actually the business owners, risk takers, self-employed individuals, it is one of those things where you consciously are surrounding yourself, as you mentioned earlier, the 5 people who are within your circle will typically influence your life, business, personality, etc., as well as your opportunity. And if you are surrounding yourself with those people, you've got to be able to break out of that 95% who think the way we've been talking about, but haven't ever come from, again, conscious, subconscious is something we speak about all the time, and move from an unconscious daily drone mentality of work, go, sleep, die, work, go, sleep, die. And well, by the way, keep doing that until you get your 11-year, get out of jail free card before you die, right? Which is, the whole progression of a normalized, quote unquote, society of workers, and into the position where you recognize the opportunity is for you to break out of that. And it literally has to be you getting out of your subconscious mind and getting out of the tasks and breaking up the mundane of things you're doing and getting out of the patterns that you get, that become comfortably good for the risk to do something great. Right? We've all heard this saying at some point, right? That, you got to do something for 3 to 5 years no one else is willing to do so that you can live like no one else for the next 5 years or more. And that's such an easy thing to say from this perspective, but the guy who left IBM in 2007 was not that guy. I had to be changed, broken, and refined by the fire for me to even get my stubborn mind to change into one that was consciously aware and taking control of things. And it's something that I've become so aware of now that I even subconsciously do that as a part of my training to pull people from that person and mindset I used to be into the one that they have an opportunity to become, because I myself finally bridged that gap long ago, and it's created an enormous amount of opportunity. And it's just difficult to do that, even down to, the way we look at products or business, the way we look at services, the way we provide opportunities for others. We are always in that subconscious state of what's in it for me. Whether you like to say it or not, you're selling something because you know it's going to benefit you. The difficulty is trying to put yourself in the position of someone else and say, what do they actually want? What is their, as Alex says, their irresistible offer? What is their opportunity? What is their thing to say that it's so impossible for them to say no? Again, they feel stupid for doing that. Where did you learn this in your path to becoming the guy you are now? Were you a trust fund baby who went out and had a lot of fun, or were you a hardworking guy in a background with slugging it out at home, like doing the side hustle thing? What's your background to this point?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. And it's been at the time my biggest struggle, and today it's been revealed to me as my biggest blessing. And I was in a career in Germany. I was becoming a pilot for Lufthansa, and the only reason I went into this career is because I wanted to be respected. I wanted to feel that I had made it, that I was the man, that all of the things that my parents poured into me, I could finally show to them that I am worthy. And so I went down this path of really purely to prove my self-worth. And I ended up on a place where I was severely depressed, close to suicide, and in chronic back pain at only 21 years old. And I was so ashamed of myself, of the struggle that I was going through, that I would tell nobody, absolutely nobody, not even my girlfriend at the time sleeping next to me, knew the extent that I was suffering. And this is something that I see a lot of entrepreneurs today, is they are silently suffering. And so I was going through that, And because I was so ashamed to talk to anybody, I went onto YouTube. And, I was in Germany at the time, so I don't know what I typed in, but through divine intervention, I came across Tony Robbins and Les Brown. And my first thought was, scam artists, American multi-level marketing people, they just want to sell you some infomercial products. Don't look at that. But another voice in me said, keep on looking. And I kept on looking and listening, and it was just like the wheels inside of me started to fall into place. It was like tick, tick, ding. And suddenly I had this incredible breakthrough where I realized that if I had put myself into this situation, I can create any situation that I want to. And so through a lot of hard work, long periods of time, I got myself out of this place and, I quit my career. I essentially went on to the self-development and healing path. And yeah, it was a long journey of suffering. I fell really deep. I had another encounter with party drugs later on in Berlin where I got hooked onto cocaine. I was in circles where this was very frequent. I was emotionally abused. Lots of things that happened in my life, lots of darkness that I experienced. And at some point, I promised myself, I said, I will never, ever go back here. Never, ever. And so I had to understand, what is it inside of me that keeps going back to these places? And once I understood that, and I learned how to free myself, I healed my depression without ever seeing a therapist. I healed my chronic back pain without ever getting surgery. And I saw 5 doctors. And the last one said, you need surgery tomorrow because it's really bad or you're not going to be able to walk for the rest of your life. And I healed a cocaine addiction through my mind, through aligning myself with myself, essentially. And, through that journey, I went on into entrepreneurship, bootstrapped a business in New York City as a student without a visa. Went really the hard way I lived in New York for almost 4 years and I never made more than $3,000. And if you have ever lived in New York, you know that $3,000
below New York's poverty line.
Exactly, right? And so, but
Yep.
I made it work. And I didn't live a bad life. I didn't complain like, oh my God. No, I was actually quite happy. But I was so focused on this mission. I said, one day I too will be a coach and a speaker. I will help people free themselves from the thoughts and feelings that are holding them back. And I never let go of that vision. And today, here I am.
Good for you, man. I love that story. It's a story of triumph. And obviously there is someone listening to this podcast who might be in that dark place right now. I've been there myself, as we discussed before, in that place where you just are hopeless. You don't feel like anybody cares. There's no one who was willing to listen to you. And I know this is a situation that most people can feel in different ways, but I know for men, at least me personally, that struggle feels a little more difficult when no one feels like they want to listen to you. As men, we want to bolster ourselves as other confident men. They don't really want to hear your problems, dude. And then if you have no one else to share it to, who else do you talk to? Well, sometimes as men, we talk to ourselves in the mirror. So what do we say to ourselves in the mirror to give us an opportunity to grow out of that situation? What kind of daily affirmations maybe do you tell yourself in the mirror as you wake up and get up in the day and go that kind of help you, pump yourself up, get your chest up, get your do you listen to music? Are you rocking out? Or what is your routine to getting yourself pumped for the day?
So on a good day, my routine is get up, go out to the balcony and get some sun into my eyes, stretch, take a few deep breaths, belly breathing, and then I have a conversation with God, not necessarily from a religious point of view, but I have a conversation with God, with the Creator, and it gets me into very high states, very peaceful, very elevated, very light, and very focused. And then once I go through that, I go to the gym. I hit the gym. Oftentimes, I also jump into the ocean. Here in Cape Town, the ocean is very cold. I can only tell you in Celsius. I don't operate in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius is about 14 degrees, which is quite cold. And yeah, I meditate and I mix it up, I mix it up. But I think the one meditation that I have been using, and I invite people to use this one as well, because it's so powerful when you think about this. Whenever I notice there's a sense of doubt, there's a sense of overwhelm, there's a sense of frustration, any sort of sense of inner resistance that is making me kind of reactive, I take a deep breath, I close my eyes, and put my one hand on my heart, and I simply say, I am safe. I am safe. And here's the reason why I do this. All doubt, all sense of fear is created through this idea that your identity, your ego, is being attacked. There is a perception of danger somewhere, even though there is no actual danger out there, unless you go with me to the bush here in South Africa, and we might encounter some real danger in form of a lion or some leopard.
Real danger.
But in that moment, when you're just thinking, oh, God, how am I going to structure my day? Am I going to make that deal? Am I going to get that meeting? There's no real danger in the moment, but for your mind, there is. So when you say, I am safe, you're essentially removing that perception of there being a danger. And so then your whole system can calm down. You can be more centered. And then you make a lot better quality decisions.
Today is sufficient unto itself, right? If we can live in the moment, it's a present. That's why they call it a present, right? It's hard for us to remind of those things, and it's good to hopefully get those out today, those who might be listening and trying to feel some encouragement from today's call. I am. It's just a reminder that, my girls, they're the 5 people I surround myself with every day, so I'm not sure what that says about me, because my wife is my beautiful wife, and my 4 daughters are always around me, and I spend the most amount of time with them, so I'm not sure what that means. I cannot out-talk them. I definitely know that's for sure. But they are, one of the things we constantly remind them of is something I do myself. Is we get up, we wake up, we get up, we pray up. It's the first thing you do before your feet hit the floor. Gratitude for the day you've got, things ahead today. Lord, give me purpose for the things I've got to do and the people that are there, and help me to overcome me so that I can help someone else overcome themselves. And how to do that in a positive light, and try to train that into my girls every day so that they can become a positive light in someone else's darkness. And obviously you had that opportunity and you've gone through that challenge. Let me ask you a tough question, maybe for you. I don't know. We'll see. Where was God at in that time with you in Berlin? Where was he with you?
In my mind, God didn't exist. I was a very firm atheist at that point. If you were to come to me and tell me, oh, talk about God, I would argue you into the ground to make you feel insecure, because it would trigger me. It would trigger me, the idea that there is a God. And to me, there wasn't. So I had no conscious connection to God. In hindsight, I know that God was there all the time, at every single place that I was, guiding me all this way. But I remember the time, I have done a lot of work in the plant medicine world, ayahuasca, San Pedro, with shamans. And I remember doing a ceremony in New York for the first time in my life. I had never done anything like it. And I did the ceremony, and I came in still with this belief that there is no God. But during the ceremony, I've experienced something that changed my life forever. I went into a very dark night of the soul, very deep. I was struggling a lot during the ceremony, a lot of fear. And in one moment, it was just like a click. I felt this incredible presence holding me, and I was crying. I was bawling my eyes out and, reliving past traumas, and it was holding me. And the sensation I got is, I love you no matter what. There's nothing in the world that you can do for me to not love you. I will always love you. And it was so beautiful. It was so reassuring. It was this ultimate safety blanket that made me, not even told me, but that made me realize that it doesn't matter what I want to do in the world. I can't fail. I can't. It's like when I come from my heart, when I come from the place of service, there is nothing that can stop me in the world, because I got God on my side always. And that, to me, changed everything.
That's amazing, dude. What a testimony. Yahweh will meet us wherever we are in any situation. People think that, he was in New York working with shamans. Well, God doesn't show up there. Well, you're wrong. He'll show up in any location, in any place, regardless, as long as you're willing to reach out to him and you're extending that. And that's an amazing testimony, dude, because obviously it's done a transformation on your life, from the guy you used to be to the guy you are now, Mario, which is amazing. And I'm glad to be a part of your life now. And I'm honored that you came on the show today. And I appreciate your words of wisdom and encouragement. For those who might be listening, hopefully they're feeling uplifted from this call today. I'm sure there's someone who's been reached from this call today. No coincidences in God's great universe at all. So I'm so honored that you came on today to share this with us. And folks, if you enjoyed any of the conversation with Mario today, and maybe you feel like you're a little depressed, or you're a little sad, or maybe you just need a little refocus, or maybe you need somebody to talk to because no one else will listen, Mario's got an ear, and he's got a site set up for us to go check it out. The link will be in the show notes. I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to listen to his TED Talk about self-doubt, because that's going to be a huge opportunity for you to get from that subconscious and start thinking consciously. And then you're welcome to check that link out there and look at the ways to make more money in half the time. You're definitely going to want to check that out, because he's the guy who can help you do it. No doubt about it. He's working with a lot of great people. He's a good man, and I'm glad to have him on the call today. Mario, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom today.
Neil, thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure and honor. I think you're doing phenomenal work for the world, and everybody who is in your circle, I think, is very privileged. And yeah, I hope that this message will move something within someone who listens today, and to really not just entertain these ideas, but apply them, take action, because if you do, I guarantee you're in for a massive upgrade.
Awesome. Share that link real quick with us if you would, so make sure we get it out here on the audio, and then folks, it'll also be in the show notes for you as well.
Yes, a great way to connect with me is to visit my website. So it's my full name, Mario, Mario, and then my last name, Lanzarotti, which is Lan as in November, ZAROTI.com/welcome-high voltage.
Very good. Thank you so much again. And one last thing I might ask at the end of this, some of these ladies on here who are going to watch this on YouTube are probably going to be swooning over you. Are you a taken guy? Are you single? Should I make sure to warn any of the ladies before they reach out to you?
Anyone could reach out to me, but I am definitely taken. My wonderful wife-to-be is my queen. And yeah, but I'm very happy to talk to people and to help. But there are boundaries. I will say that.
There are boundaries. There are always boundaries in life. Appreciate you, sir. Take care. If you like this episode, please share it with people you think will enjoy it as well. Thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of High Voltage Business Builders.